The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey George, can you hear me? George,
Hi, Dewey.
hey, how are you?
You know, pretty good.
How's your car situation? Is it good now?
Yes, it's good. It's good.
All right. Okay, before I go over the information, let me get to know a little bit about you. How long have you been in the industry, George?
I've been in the insurance industry probably about 11, 12 years.
Okay. And have you done a lot of the Next Universal Life sale?
Have I done a lot of the universal life?
Uh-huh.
No, not a lot. I have dabbled a little bit in the universal life
Uh-huh.
because I was with two companies before that market to teachers.
Okay.
Um, I was with a company out of San Diego called District Options, a guy named Kevin Sullivan.
Okay.
And then it was another company called GLP, which they're based out of Michigan, and I
Okay.
was with them for a couple months, but they didn't have anything set up. But me and the guy that was a supervisor, we would try to go. We went around to Stockton, and we were trying to set up schools and stuff like that.
So you have no problem going to the school and book the workshop, right?
No, no, I've never done it by myself, but I'm comfortable going in. Yes.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. So let me see. Can you
It's
see?
just a new approach for me. That's all.
Uh-huh. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay. So I believe that you already gone to step one, uh,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
now you also gone to step two, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you have any problem presenting this presentation in front of let's say a group of 5 to 10 parents?
Do I have any problem? No. It's just before I know I would do it, I would just review it a couple times myself to make sure I feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not. But I'm comfortable talking in front of people. You know, I just like to know what I'm talking about beforehand. So
Yeah,
if I go through it a couple times myself, I'm pretty sure I feel comfortable. Yeah.
yeah. My experience is just go out and do it. I remember my first presentation. I have a radio talk show in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
And I live in Southern California. The reason why I'm doing in Texas because I just happen to know someone who hosts the talk show down there, and she was giving me a very good pricing uh, to do the talk show in the Vietnamese community. So
Mhm.
I do the talk show every week, roughly about 20 minutes. And from that talk show, I got a lot of people who interested to come out to my workshop. And I remember just like a few months ago, I decided just to do the talk show. So I make the announcement and on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning, right? So by
Mhm.
Friday night, uh, I know that tomorrow I have to do my first workshop. So I went on this presentation right here, the 27
Mhm.
minutes presentation, and
Mhm.
I watched this thing for roughly about 8 times. I think about 8 to 10 times. I keep watching it and watching it and watching it, and then I download the PowerPoint presentation and I kind of practice. And so when I watch it, for the slide that I don't understand, I pause and I take note to make sure that I understand each slide. and then things like that. So in the morning, I remember my first presentation. I only have four individuals who came to my presentation: a husband and wife, um, a parent who has young kid. Okay, another parent. She has the 17 years old, so it's kind of late for her to plan for the funding phase. And I have another couple who I'm no not couple. There another lady. She was roughly, I think she was about 59 years old, and she came. So the result of the presentation, I was able to set up two Index Universal Life for the first couple. Okay, they already have a 529 set up.
Mhm.
But when I show the slide, let me go back here very quick. So when I show this slide right here, download the presentation, download this. Okay, give me 1 second. Put this thing back. Okay, and the PowerPoint presentation. Oops, not that one. This one. Okay, so when I went
Mhm.
over this slide comparing a 529
Uh-huh.
and the ups and B, and
Mhm.
when I show them this graph right here, and I talk about, the risk, the risk of having your money in the red curve, which is the S&P 500 index fund that you can buy from Fidelity, Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, and things like that, right? And I show them the
Mhm.
performance in the past 20 years compared to the blue curve, which is the index strategy with a 12.5% cap, and
Mhm.
they was interested to move to have their money invested in the blue curve because seemingly there's no market risk, right?
Mhm.
That number one, and number two, when you put money in here, the cash value of the fund in the index universal life is not going to be penalized compared to the access that you have in the 529. So the
Mhm.
next day, they book an appointment with me. They open two index universal life and they put in $500 a month each. So I end up writing two power policy, and the combined target on that, I believe that was almost like $13,000 for the both policy.
Oh my lord.
Yep.
Why did they open two?
Well, because they got two kids, so I recommend them to open one for one kid and the other one for the second kid. And
Mhm.
I will go over the process,
Mhm.
how to do that client presentation a little bit later today. Okay. So what
Mhm.
happened was, and then they have about $15,000 in the bank, and
Mhm.
they see this graph right here. If you have my money earning 2%, you earn nothing right
Mhm.
here. So they actually put in. I mean, they actually asked me whether if they can dump $5,000 in, to jumpstart the policy. So they also did that. Okay.
Mhm.
Now for the other ladies who came and have a 17 years old, it was too late for her to fund, but she still like, because she have money in the bank and she still like to move it to the light blue cup right here. So she
Mhm.
open, and then she have a need to have an insurance policy. So she open a index universal life where she put in 250 a month. So when we sit down with the client, we don't necessarily just open the policy for college planning or funding only because they might have the need. You see what I mean?
Mhm.
Now for the third attendee, she's 59 years old, and she was Vietnamese, and so she was just telling me I was that she was expecting to hear the presentation in Vietnamese. Now I had to do it in English because the husband of the wife, the first couple, they was Caucasian, so I had to do the whole thing in English for them. So she kind of hang out, and we kind of talk while I was just like putting my projector away and things like that. And then during the talk, we talk about anything else. She was telling me that she was in the market of buying a car, and she was debating between the Mercedes and the Lexus and things like that. The bottom line was she disclosed to me that her husband is also 59 years old, and between
Mhm.
401k and mutual fund and stock, his access is roughly about $3 million.
Mm.
So of course, I asked her to see whether I can invite her husband now, and she told me that he wouldn't come out and things like that. But she did invited me out to go to her house for dinner with her husband, and we get to know each other. So I'm still working on, presenting the idea of the CRT. You know what the
Mhm.
CRT is, right?
The what?
The Charitable Remainder Trust.
Oh, no, no.
Okay. Well, because by talking to him, he's very proud that he have the money in the right stock and the right mutual fund and things like that. So I did not trying to come in and tell him that I am the expert, but I did ask the question about and how much tax you think you will have to pay for capital gain on those stock and mutual fund that outside of your 401k. And then he said, yeah, I'm thinking about that. I have to pay a lot of tax. So I told him there is a way for him to avoid paying long-term capital gain 100%. And I explained to him how the charitable remainder trust works. So we've been talking about setting up one for him.
It's called a charitable remainder tax
No,
trust.
charitable remainder trust. It's a trust that you set up. For example, if you happen to buy a stock like 30 years ago, and it cost 100,000, right? And now that
Mhm.
stock become $1 million. If you happen to sell it, your gain is 900,000. And if you happen to sell it, you have to pay long-term capital gain, roughly about $300,000. Okay, so if we happen
Mhm.
to set up a charitable remainder trust to move that into an index annuity, for example, and they can avoid paying the $300,000 long-term capital gain because they put it in the trust, and the condition of the trust is if something happened to so they can use 100,000, I mean $1 million to the index annuity, and they can live on the principal plus the interest that they will get from the index and annuity. Now what happened
Mhm.
is they can spend that down as long as they have to have the minimum of 10%. That will go to a charity, like a church or a
Mhm.
temple or whatever charity organization that they choose. So let's
Mhm.
say if they happen to spend it down to 100,000 and they pass away, as long as
Mhm.
a charity have a minimum of 10%, it's illegal that they don't have to pay on of the again on that account. And then
Wow.
they ask me, but they want to leave the money for their kid. What do they do? And I tell them, well, for the tax deduction that you will get from this setup, you can use that to buy $1 million life insurance for your kid. So when you pass, your kid still get $1 million income tax free. They don't have to worry about anything else. And then the charity that you set up, they will get the remainder. So let's say if they happen to pass, and in the cash value in the index annuity is still $500,000, the $500,000 will go to the church, but the $1 million death benefit of the life insurance will go to their kid, and things like that nature. By doing that, they avoid paying the whole long-term capital gain on that $900,000 to the IRS, and it's total
Can
legal.
can they set it up to where anything over 100,000 goes to the kids?
No, the
No.
remainder will have to go to the charity. But like
But the death benefit can go to the kids?
they no, they will have to buy an additional insurance. So and
Okay.
fund that, and use the tax deduction. They have a lot of tax deduction by giving $1 million to a charity, right? So
Mhm.
they can spread that tax deduction out, and use that to pay for the life insurance. And of course, they still can use the cash value of the life insurance if they decided to do so down the road, right?
Mhm.
But the death benefit will go to the kid. So by having a client in that kind of situation,
Mhm.
guess what? You can talk to doctor, dentist, and ask them, hey, do you have the exit strategy for your
Mhm.
business? A lot of them, they don't want to sell the business after working for years, right? But
Mhm.
they just don't want to pay, don't want to go through the long-term capital again, and then things like that. So that is the conversation that you can always have with individual that potentially have long-term capital gain. So it could be a business, it could be a stock, could be an investment property that they buy a long
Mhm.
time ago, and it's appreciated in value, and they want to sell it, but they are not going to buy another property to replace it, so they will have to pay the long-term capital gain and things like that nature. So
And this
you
is all set up through an IUL?
no, it's set up so that you can move the money to an index annuity, and then you can also set up in index universal life on the side to make sure that their beneficiary have money if they pass. So by making that arrangement, you will do the double sell. You move the money to the new annuity, you make the commission
Mhm.
on it, and you can
Mhm.
also open up another index universal life for them and make commission on the index universal life too.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so right now it's charitable remainder trust. You can Google it and you can study about the whole thing on the internet.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds really good. Yeah, I would like to know a little bit more about that. Yeah.
Okay, and then the next thing what you want to do is you call some of the estate attorney in your
Mhm.
local area and introduce yourself, and then ask them have they set up any charitable remainder trust for their client, and then you found the one that have done it, and then you can build a relationship with them, and maybe you can refer customer for them to uh, to help them make more money on the charitable remainder trust fee, right? and then ask them, if you do have client right now, what do you do, to fund them? Maybe, if they do have client in that need, and then they can contact you to do the rollover or to set up the insurance for their client.
Because a lot of times the lawyers aren't going to be able to do it themselves.
Exactly. Exactly. So contact a few estate attorney in your area, and get that relationship going.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
Exit attorneys, you say?
yeah, asset attorney, the one that does like live-in trust and things like that. You want to be able to have a relationship with one or two of them. So if you happen to see your client, and sometimes you recommend them to have a live-in trust and things like that, and then you have someone who you can refer to.
Okay. So that's how I can tell them they could benefit from this relationship as well.
Exactly.
Like when I find somebody, then I can refer them to you. And when you have somebody that's looking for one of these charitable remainder trusts, then you can refer them to me.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. So, uh, I'm not going to go over this presentation today, because you can watch the video and go through it.
Okay.
But the most important slide that I spend time on is this slide right here, because it's allow me to get the client to understand, where their funding is at. It's either at the red curve or the dark blue one. If they do have the money in the bank right now, the money is going to grow very slow, right? From 100,000 to 150,000 after 20 years, or they grow from 100,000 to 300,000 after 20 years, right? And if they do have their funding in the index universal life with a 12.5% cap, and this will go to over $400,000 right here. So I will get my client interest all day long with this slide right here. So I spend time and I explain this slide at the presentation. Do not mention, the word insurance. Okay, just tell them that, hey, you can get it in the index strategy, and then if they want to find out where they can get it, and then you book a private a one-on-one appointment with them, and that's when you tell them about the life insurance. Okay. So what do you do if you happen to have client? So let's go through some example right now. Now on step number 3, client presentation, right? When I meet with client, and that's what I do. The first thing I do is, I write down the information. I said, how old is your kid, and what year they was born, and things like that. What their name, right? And then what I would do is I go to Google. I said, how much does it cost to go to University of California, let's say in Sacramento? Okay.
Oh yeah, Davis, maybe UC Davis. That's the closest one.
Right, but this is the one that go to Sacramento State. That's different than University of California, because it costs like 24,000 for okay, in state, and 36,000 for out of state. Okay. Okay. Average public 4-year tuition is about 6,841. Can you see this screen? Okay. So So this is cheaper than the California state. This is
You have
Sacramento.
to go to like UC Davis.
Right.
UC Davis, that's a UC, so it's going to be a lot more expensive.
Okay, California UC David. Okay.
Hmm
Now you look at tuition and fee is 14,000 for
hmm
in-state. Okay, room and board is another 14,000. So this is the number that I normally use because if I use the cut of attendance, it will be like way too much. Okay. So
hmm
let's just use the example right here. So let's say if I happen to sit down with someone who have a 5 years old kid, I would go to the back of our office, George, and I
hmm
click on college cost inflation. Okay,
hmm
and I would uh, add it right here. And let's say if the name of the child is John,
hmm
and he was born in 2013, right?
hmm
And down here, I would put the cost in, which is 14. Oops, which is $14,046.
hmm
Okay, and I click
hmm
save. So basically, this calculator will show me that if John happened to go to school and he has about 13 more years. You with me so
hmm
far?
Yes.
So if it costs $14,000 now, by the time that he go to college, it will cost $23,000 a year because of inflation.
hmm
Okay, and then I explain to the parent, if you happen to use the banking right now, like put that money in checking account, saving account, CD, or money market, the maximum return you probably get right now is about 2%. So in
hmm
order for you to get $93,000 in the next 13 years, you have to outlay about $6,373 a year. You see that?
Yes.
And the total contribution will be $82. Now, if you happen
82.
to redirect, I'm sorry, $82,000. Now, if you happen to
hmm
redirect that to a place that give you a better return, let's say 6%, and then every year you only need to outlay about $4,955, and the total contribution is 64,415. So by just redirecting that money to another financial institution that give you a better return, you saving roughly about $18,000 in the next 13 years. Okay, and
hmm
most people who have money in the bank, they want to know where they can get a 6% so that they can save that $18,000.
Yeah, that's huge.
Okay, so they will ask
hmm
me, where do I get the 6%? And I told them, have you heard about 529? See, the reason why I ask about have you heard about 529, because most people they heard about it, they probably don't really know how it works, but
hmm
they hear their friend who talk about it, they hear people talk about it all the time, right?
hmm
So we tell them, well, if you happen to put your money in the 529, you probably will use a mutual fund to fund your 529, and the return very much will be similar to the index, the S&P 500 index, which is the red curve, right?
hmm
And when you have your money there, number one, it is subject to market risk because you don't know when your kid get ready to go to college, the market going to be up or down. What if your kid will get ready to go to college and the market dropped like 38%, just like 2008? You see that?
hmm hmm
And then the second advantage on the 529 is the access in the 529 will be counted towards the EFC when you fill out the FAFSA form for financial aid. So I will tell them, say, well, if I can help you to redirect that to a Plan B program, and then you will not have that issue with the market risk, and the access that you have won't be penalized in the calculation for your EFC. With me so far?
Yes.
Okay, so what I normally do is I will go to an illustration. Now, have you tried to run an illustration with American National yet?
I have not. No.
Okay. All right. So let me pull this out. Go to American National. Okay. And then go to expert. You do have the login name and password for American
Yes.
National, right? And you go to
Yes.
expert office right here, and you go to expert illustrator. Okay.
Mhm.
And then let's just go to the login page. Okay, so we are going to start a new case. Okay, so we to go. Okay, and then let's say the customer was born, let's say 30 years old, which is was born in 19, let's say
98. Mhm.
86. Oops. Okay. So 32 male
Mhm.
in California. Okay.
Mhm.
And then those are not required information. So let's go to new illustration. Create a new illustration. Okay. So most of the time we using the signature index universal life right here. Let's say this person is in good health, so we choose like prefer. Okay.
Mhm.
And then we want to uh, get the minimum phase. And let's say if I go back here, I see that between 4,900 to
Mhm.
6,000. So let's say if I happen to do a $500 a month, for example. Okay,
Mhm.
to and I want to do that for 13 years and monthly. Okay, and I want to pick the point to point,
Mhm. With the 12%.
yet with a 12.5% cap, do 100% on that. Okay,
Mhm.
and I go to cash flow right here. Now, what I need to have based on this calculation right here is $23,388 every year for 4 years, right?
Mhm.
So I go here, I go loan, variable rate, okay, input, and I want to do 20. 3, I have short memory, 23,388.
Mhm.
Okay, 388. That
Mhm.
is the objective I want to pull out. Okay, uh, from age, let's say, give me 1 second right here.
Mhm.
You were 32 plus 13, so it's 55.
No, 45 to 48, right? It's only 13 years from now, right?
Oh,
So
okay. So
42,
four,
45 to
5,
48,
and 4 years.
3 years.
4 years. So we put. Oh, sorry, we put 4 right here.
Mhm.
Oops. Okay. And then let's say if we check the value right here, we will show that if they outlay $6,000 a year right now, they should be
Mhm.
able to get out 23,000.
Wait, but that did we only did 3 years. We got to add another year in there.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay.
So you got to put 49 in the
Oh,
last one.
yeah. 49. There we go.
Mhm.
Okay, so it take that, and you see that they're able to do the 4 years right here. Okay. Now
So
what?
is that saying that they would have enough to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
So now I might go back here and try to see whether if I put 450 a month, okay,
Mhm.
and to check to see whether it's still working for them. See, 450, the last year they don't have enough, only 15,000. You see that?
Yes.
So my
15,000.
original guess was right. So I
So
come
they
back
need at
here
least.
to value. Oh no, to policy detail, and to put 500. Okay. So
Mhm.
that's how you run an illustration.
Now, Dewey, is that at that 7% or is that at the 15%? Because I know that they give you an assumed value versus the actual value that you can get.
Uh-huh.
Is that the 7% or is that the 15?
Okay. Now, what you talking about is the rate. The assumed rate is
Yeah.
7.16.
Mhm.
That what the illustration was ran on.
So it actually has a chance to be even more than that.
Could be less, could be more, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Okay.
they do the the
Right in the middle.
calculation in the past 20 years. The average
Mhm.
about 7.16. If you have a
Okay.
12.5% cap.
Okay.
Okay. And with this
Mhm.
one, you can just go here and then you select the report, and then you just go preview the illustration, and
Mhm.
then you can read the illustration so you can understand more.
Okay.
Okay. And they talk about, you see, get for 4 years,
Mhm.
and things like that. And it tell you everything you need to know. I mean, the one thing that you want to learn is how to read the illustration, so that when your client asks you question and things like that, and then you know what to tell them. because this is the
Okay.
official communication that you will have. And of course, that when you design that, and you will put your information and your license number on here.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the target for this case, short, it's a simple cell. The target for this case, let me see where I got that. It's about 5,367. You you
Mhm.
you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So the advantage of our approach is very simple. If I go out there and tell people that I want to come to your house and sell you a life insurance policy, guess what? Most likely they're not going to get the appointment,
Let you show up.
because they,
Mhm.
they, they feel like they are going to buy something from us.
Mhm.
Okay. But the approach when we talk about college funding, and then they are thinking that they are saving. And so what they are focusing on is they focus on the $23,000 right here, more
Mhm.
more than the $6,000 they put in. You with me?
Yes.
So if you look at this right here, okay, if you take the calculator and you
Mhm.
take 23,388 multiplied by 4, you look at about 93,000 that they are going to get out for that 4 years, right? And
Yes.
then if I happen to take 6,000 multiplied by 13 years of contribution,
Mhm.
you look at 78. So they already ahead. Okay, that's number one.
Mhm.
Number two is, even after that, they still have the life insurance. The death benefit is still good right here. And as you can
Mhm.
see, it will last for them for a very long time, because this is illustrated, until 120 years. But let's say life expectancy of a male is 83 years old. So by that time, if he passed at 83 years old, they still get an additional death benefit of 244,000 right there.
And they stopped paying into the program the minute their child went to college.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then one of the
Mhm.
selling point, I tell them, I highlight, let's say 3 years, or let's say 2 years into this policy right here. Okay. And if you
Mhm.
happen to pass away prematurely, guess what? If you have your money in the bank or 529, you're not going to have much, probably about 12,000 more or less. You with me? But if you
Yes.
do have the money in here, and if you happen to pass away prematurely, your family will have $593,000. That you can use that to fund your college education for your kid. Or if
And
you
it's tax
happen to
free.
be sick, like terminally ill, chronically ill, or critically ill, and then you can
Mhm.
accelerate that to use that money to pay for your children college education. Where if you have the other plan, you don't have that option.
Mhm. And plus, it's tax free, right?
Exactly.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, so the process is very simple. If you happen to forget our training today, and then
Mhm.
you just go to step 2 right here.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, step 3, client presentation in the back of
Mhm.
office, and I have an example right here. What you do, type in the cost, right, and
Mhm.
then use the college code inflation calculator and find out,
Mhm.
and then run the illustration. All you got to do is just practice, George, and then
Okay.
now you have the confidence what you need to do when you're in front of the client. And that's why, try to go to elementary school where the children is still young, and there are more elementary school than the middle school or the high school. Don't do it the high school because the parent of the high school they already know a lot about college planning and things like that. So they might ask questions that we might not be able to answer to them because we are just getting involved with college funding.
Okay.
You with me so far? And then, if they do ask you a question during the presentation, which you are not sure, tell them. I said, well, that is a very good question. My partner might be able to answer that. So let me write down the question, and I will contact you to give you the correct answer because I don't want to give you a wrong answer right now.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so does that help you so far with the process?
Yeah, it makes me feel more confident.
All right.
I think I'm gonna wait for my business cards to get in, and then I'm gonna hit the streets and try to see if I can get my first couple schools set up.
Okay. Now, I will double check. I did hit recording for this training. When I end the presentation, I should be able to have that, and then I will email you the link. So that if you do have if you want to review it, you are welcome to do that. Or I'm a phone call away. If you need help, give me a call.
Okay, thank you so much, Dewey. And so this number that you were texting me on, I can use that number to contact you if I have questions in the future?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Dewey.
You're welcome, George. And then, like I said, you should get your business card this week. And then, if you have any anything, any issue, any problem, contact me. I'm good at step number 2. Okay, if you need help on step number 1, contact Brian Gunnarsson. He an expert to go out to the school system.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. But if you need step number 2, 3, 4, 5, give me a call.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I look forward to using you, and I appreciate you spending some time with me today.
No problem, George. Take care now.
You too. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.